Dante, man, it's all yours, buddy.
All right.
Took the day off tomorrow, so you got all night.
Fantastic. I might take all night. Um, first things first, my name's Dante Bartee. I'm currently the QC defensive analyst at the University of Southern Mississippi. Before that, I was at Cal Berkeley as a graduate assistant, and I've been a few other places before that. I was in Iowa for a year, and then I started my coaching career at a place called Perry High School in Gilbert, Arizona. And I have to thank them for giving me the opportunity for this success. My head coach, Preston Jones, is actually on here, one of my many mentors, and him and Todd Rogers. So I really appreciate the opportunity. We're going to go through some conceptual understanding or modes of thought before we talk football. This, in my opinion, is really important because I think there's a disconnect between how we think about talking in a clinic setting, how we talk to our coaches, and how we talk to our players, and how it works together. Tonight, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be talking about that philosophy and what I like to use. And then I'm going to be going through some run fit concepts and marrying your coverage to the run game in split field defense. I'm going to be doing this from the top down. So this is going to be not only like what is the strategy, why am I doing it, and what is the call itself, but we're going to talk through playing from back to front what the tasks are. So that's what we're going to do out of even and odd space. And I like to talk about why each one's important with the same call in mind. If you have questions, feel free to ask. To me, this is a discussion. This is not a dissertation. So without further ado, can we see the whiteboard? Yes.
Yeah, we got you. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So first things first, we're going to talk through some philosophy, okay? This philosophy is used more than just when we talk about football, but I think it's really important when we talk through communication strategy. And I'm going to use this throughout the talk, so I think it's important to me. The model that I like to use to think about communication is the difference between strategic tactical and task levels of thought. So what do those things mean, right? And how do they connect to what we're going to talk about? So when we have a set of goals, right? Like the set of goals or outcomes is the philosophy of something. In football settings, it's we're going to stop the run game, right? Or we need to stop certain numbers of variables in the passing game. We need to stop them from throwing the ball down the field and make them run the football, okay? We need to eliminate a player. We have a set of goals. Then we have strategy, which is we're going to figure out the ideas that we use, the whys of our tactics. Examples of this would be me when I'm going to talk tonight. I'm going to talk about principles and concepts, right, in regards to 7, 8, and 9-man run fit spacing. To understand how you teach the players the tasks, to get them to do the thing, you have to understand not only what you're doing, but what you're doing it for and why you're doing it. That's how you handle issues. So I'm talking from big to small, okay? Next, we talk about tactical level thought. We're talking about the what. We're talking about the what. This is what you get in clinic speak most of the time. You rarely get the whys, and a lot of times we get the what. We play mid 4. We play over 3. This is how we play it, right? We play surf and box. This is how we play it. The what doesn't work without the why, because you don't get the goals and outcomes. You can't evaluate the process if you don't know the whys and the issues, okay? So a lot of people know the what. They can tell you what the what is.
The next part is the task. To me, the task is the how, which is the teaching of how we do the thing. So for example, I'm not going to talk to my players like I'm talking in this clinic about the strategy of 9-man run fit spacing. I'm going to talk about what, which is mid 4, and then when I talk to, per se, a linebacker, I'm going to say in 2x2, we get 30-30, where guard to near back. That gets lost when we have this form of communication. And so I think it's important that I'm going to structure this talk along these guidelines. And I'm going to constantly refer to the how, to the what, and to the why. Because we need to determine how we know we're getting to our desired goals and outcomes. Okay? That's important not just on the football field, right? It's important in terms of in the locker room. And it's important when you communicate with your other coaches. Your D-line coach may not need to know the strategy on how to play corner technique. He doesn't need to know that for corners, but he certainly needs to know why we're squeezing blocks or why we're playing a pointer, right? So they intersect, they're intersectional, they work together. That's very important. And I think it gets lost, okay? So it's not just about how do we teach the players the thing, it's why do we teach the players the thing and what are we teaching the players? All right, do we have any questions in that regard? If we do, please ask. Like I want you to ask me if you do. No? Okay. So with that out of the way, we're going to talk about playing split safety defense. Okay. And we are going to talk about using the same 2 calls out of odd space and then even space, which I'm going to discuss, with different run fit mechanics, how you fit the run. And we're going to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of each of those methodologies and what you have to teach the players, what the task is to do it that way. Okay? So we're going to go through from the top to the bottom. Okay? So the first thing we're going to talk about is run fit spacing. Some of you have heard about this before, some of you have not. Okay? As a precursor, none of what I say is new. Some of it I've decided to put my own language, right? Some of it I've altered, but none of this is new, right? It's why you do what you do and how you do it that matters. Okay? So first we're going to talk about conceptually 9-man spacing. Okay? Otherwise known colloquially as max fits. Okay? And we're going to talk through that progression. We're going to talk about doing that to stop RPO and QB run, like traditional QB zone read option game. And we're going to talk about gap scheme as well. Okay? The next thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about 8-man spacing. Okay? We're going to discuss what I like to call sling fits and playing what we like to call 2-back run game. We're going to go through that with the same call. Okay? Finally, we're going to talk about 7-man spacing. 7-man spacing is being out-gapped or having to 2-gap in the run game. How do we do it with a combination of our run fits and why do we do it? Questions so far? No? If you have, please ask because this is going to start getting really fast. Okay, here we go. So let's talk 9-man spacing and split safety defense, okay? I'm going to draw up okay, we're going to talk about 9-man spacing. And we're going to talk about the principles of playing max fits. We're going to talk about solo space. We're going to talk about playing one gap. Or we're going to talk about winding blocks. Okay? To give you a frame of reference of what I mean when I talk about 9-man run fit spacing. We're going to talk about mid-4. Mid-4, okay? I'm going to start in a 2-by-2 formation. Okay, a 2-by-2 formation. All right, in mid-4, we have 4 eyes, we have a nose, and we have overhangs in the defense. All right, so when we play mid-4 and we're playing 9-man spacing, all right, we're playing the same coverage concept. How do we play mid-4? Our corners have all of one unless they're shallow, and you call mesh. Some of this you guys already know. All right. The safeties have 2 up and out. Okay. And then the overhangs in the defense, which in this situation are the star and the jack, have to be able to take 3 through to the flat. And we'll talk about what that looks like in a moment, okay? The will and the might will play off of the running back. One of them will be an insert rusher, what some people call daylight.
Sorry, Dante, but you said 3 through what I can't read your writing there.
Yeah, take 3 through to the flat.
To the flat.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
thanks.
Okay, and the other person will be relate to 3. Okay, or relate to 3. Now, what's important here is not necessarily the actual components of the coverage at the moment. It is talking about the overhangs in the defense. In all split field concepts, doesn't matter the run fit spacing, we have overhangs in the defense. We define overhangs as the people who don't have immediate verticals down the field. So the guys who have the verticals are the high safeties, right? The overhangs are non-vertical players. Okay? When we play 9-man run fit spacing, they're going to read the N9 line of scrimmage to the back, the N9 line of scrimmage to the back. When they get run, they're going to play the edge of the defense in the run fit. Okay? We're maxed out. So if I got, for example, inside zone, okay, the jack who's to the side of the quarterback, to the side of the back, would end up being the QB player. Okay, the Mike backer would end up being the bend back, and we're going to talk about how we play this fit next. He's going to end up fitting the C gap and being the bend back of the running back. Okay, the will backer will end up playing the A gap off of the nose, and the star will end up being the force or leverage defender, keeping his inside foot up, outside foot back as the edge of the defense. The safeties here and the corners are fitting off of their coverage. So if number 2 runs the bubble, I have 2 up and out, I take him man to man, right? If number 2 were to block the overhang, I'm going to play what we call stack force. So I'm going to stack the overhang and play the edge of the defense because my man blocked the overhang in the defense, right? Okay. Is everybody on the same page of how we play 9-man spacing in Mint 4 so far? Okay, so I'm talking back to front here. We're gonna now get a little bit closer, right? We're gonna zoom in. When you want to make it small, you write it big. So now we're talking about 9-man. We're talking about LB fits and DL play, okay? So we got two overhangs in the defense. The principles we use are we are gapped out. We are gapped out, or what I like to call solo space. There's one back, right? And really we have no gaps, okay? The reason there's a gap in the defense is because of who? The quarterback in the run game, okay? The quarterback in the run game. So in 2x2 style formations, we'll play 20-20 or 30-30 with our backers, okay? We'll play 20-20 or 30-30 with our backers, and we're gonna read the center guard to the near back, to the back, right? So we get flow off the back, and I get zone flow to me. I know that we need to be A and C to the side of the back. Okay, we need to be A to C to the side of the back. We have to determine who the running back is, the final running back, and who the final quarterback player is. The way I describe it is you're going to near foot off the flow of the back, okay? And you're going to play off or fall back off the quarterback, okay? The high element is the quarterback in this diagram. The low element or the dive is the running back. So as I see zone flow and I go to stack, I know I'm going to end up being the C gap player to the side of the quarterback. I know I'm going to be the A gap player off the nose, away from the quarterback or to the side of the final back, the final A gap. Okay? The reason we teach it this way is we are back gapping the run game. Okay? We are back gapping the run game. The jack in our diagram in Mint 4 is the quarterback player in the run fit. He's the outside element. The star in our diagram, when he keyed run, played the C gap front side element. The rotation of the run fits are going away from the flow, so we say it's back gapping. We say it's back gapping. Okay? Why do we do it this way? We back gap our fits because we need to have somebody for the bend back of the running back and somebody for the quarterback. Okay? If we were to only do it off of the flow of the back and the offensive line, what would happen? I would play the A and I would play the C. We would have two people in the wrong space. Now he has to play the bend back and the quarterback, which we do at times, which we'll talk about next. Okay, when you play any type of 8-man spacing, you have to have a 2-for-1 player. Okay, but when we play 9-man spacing, we are able to handle all the gaps. Okay. Questions so far? No. Okay, cool. So with that in mind, I'm going to run the same concept. And now we're going to run what some people call bash dash, where the quarterback's the run element on inside zone, and the R, the running back's the outside element, right? Well, who is the quote unquote quarterback and who is the quote unquote dive in the run game. In this situation, the quarterback or the outside element is now the running back. So the will is playing what gap, right? If the zone flow is going to go this direction, it's going to go the other way. It's going to go like this. Okay, because he's going to read him or him. Okay, we flipped who the A and C gap players are. The jack is now the edge of the defense. The star is now the QB player. Okay, the will's the bend back, and the Mike's the A gap. Does everybody else ask a question? If you have a question, go ahead and ask. No? Okay. Makes sense? So now he's going to play the bend back. He's going to play the A gap. And he's going to play the edge of the defense. Question so far? No. Okay. Cool. So let's talk about defensive line play real quick. Actually, before that, let's talk about run fits and gap scheme. We get gap. We always spill, overlap, and non-man space. Always spill and overlap. It's going to get important because I'm about to talk about two-back ball here in a second. Okay? Talk about two-back ball here in a second for a while. Spill and overlap. So if we get a guard pull, okay? Boom, 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 puller. I spill it. How do I spill it? Get deep and thick, don't pull out, right? Near hand, near foot, get thick on the pad. I want to try to play primary, secondary off the full of the back. If not, I'm just going to don't pull out and run the circle, right? The Mike is always ball to overlap. So he checks the ball, and then he's an overlap player in the run game. He's the plus fair, and the jack's the edge of the defense. Right? The jack's the edge of the defense. We're playing this as one back ball. The Mike backer is the overlapper. Okay? Same page. Cool. How do we play defensive line when we play one gap defense like this? Right? I'm going to talk about playing 4 and 0 as as attack react players. Okay? Attack, react players. When we're playing this type of ball, we're going to play loose. Okay? We're going to play loose in our alignment, which is what we're going to talk about here in a second. We're going to come out of our hips and our hands with our feet following. And we're going to look to knock back blockers. We're going to knock back blockers. Okay? So what does that look like? And what differentiates it from other types of D-line play? Okay? So if I'm playing react attack here, doesn't matter what technique I am, and I'm an inside shade here, I'm going to put my near hand just on top of or outside the foot of the offensive lineman. The really wide guys will play where? They'll play tip of the pad, right? So my down hand goes on or outside that offensive lineman. So here's my down hand. Okay, here's my back foot. Okay, I'm always near hand down to man. Here's my up foot. Boom. Okay, we are keying the man that we're aligned on. Okay, we're going to key the tip of his pad because we're playing this really loose, which is not how we're going to do it later. Okay, when the tip of the pad works away from me, I'm going to step and in flight strike coming out of my hips and hands, the blocker, and knock him back. If the tip of the pad works across my framework, I'm going to step, redirect, Okay, step redirect, looking to play the cutoff block, playing the B gap. Everybody on the same page. What's really important about playing one gap defense is that the body position, and this is going to sound really weird, I'm going to do this on purpose, okay? The body position should look like this. Okay? The body position should be me with my hips forward, right? My 45-degree flat back, tip of the spear type alignment, okay? And the wall is holding me up. I am knocking him back. My hands are up, and a soup name like I'm holding a bowl of soup. I'm coming out of my hips and my hands, and my feet are following. Okay, that's really important for what we're going to talk about, the difference later. Questions so far? Attack, react? No. Cool. So, now that we've talked about the tasks, or how we're doing it, we're going to go a little faster and talk about some of the run game. So here we go. We're talking about Y-off formations. We're going to talk about America's offense. Now that we understand what the principles of the run game that we're talking about. Okay. Corners, playing next. Corners, playing next. Done. Stars playing apex. He's running ML line scrimmage in their back. Okay, we got our loose 4-eye. We got our head up nose and doing the exact same thing as the 4-eye. He's still playing it as what some people call a jet technique, right? Or attack react. He's still coming hips, hands, feet will follow. Loose 4-eye. Okay. We're going to have our jack who's outside of the Y here because the Y is off the ball. Our weak side safety is going to be what we call a hammer. Some people call it a hammer, right? Or a robber. Okay. And he's going to play the C gap based on where the Y is. He's feeding off of his coverage, which is the Y. We got our safety who's playing the 2 up and out mixed style principle. And he has the first thing coming out. Will and Mike at 33. And we're playing single gap space. So we get America's play, which is what? Split zone. Right? If I'm playing as 9-man run fit spacing in mid 4 here, okay, these guys do not care about the Y off. It's single gap space. So I care about what? The flow of the offensive lineman and the back. The backs. So what's going to happen? I'm going to step with the offensive. I'm going to step the offensive line back, step the offensive line back, and then do what? Back gap. I'm going to end up being what gap? The C gap. I'm going to end up being the A gap. Cool? Same page. He's the C gap. He's the quarterback because he's reading and now scrimmage to the back. The quarterback player, we get bubble, RPO. He has to take it man to man because he's 2 up and out. Okay. And the weak side safety is fitting off of his coverage, which is the Y. So he is going to fit as the D gap player in the run game. So what does he become in our run fit? He is now the bend back player in the run game. In the run game. One of 2 things are going to happen here. Either this Y is going to go back and block the backer. He's going to get deep and thick, right? Because anybody who comes to block me, I'm going to play it inside out. This is now the new bend back, is the area between the backer and the weak side safety and the QB player. Okay? So we're maxed out in the run game. Everybody have any questions about that? We're playing react attack up front. So the tip of the pad goes away from me. There are 2, I'm sorry, attack react, not react attack. Attack react, so there are 2 methods. If we're going to play true attack react and the tip of the pad goes away from me, right, I'm not going to punch back into the guard. So I'm not going to step redirect, which is what we would normally talk about. We play RA, okay? I'm going to take the gap. So I'm playing the V gap. Okay, so what does that do? That widens the A gap space. The nose is playing AR, he plays lag. And the backside 4I is going to step redirect and play the B gap, looking to knock them back. Does anybody have any questions about that? No. Okay. Fantastic. So now we take 3x1 Y off. When we play 3x1 9-man spacing Y off in mid 4, I'm going to go like that and like that, right? We line up 41 and 10 because we need to define the A and C gaps. We're in solo space. Okay, so who are we reading? We're reading guard tackle in their back, flow the back. We get inside zone. Inside zone happens, okay? And the Y falls back. We're playing what? Off the flow of the back. I'm falling to the A gap, not because of the Y, but because of the flow of the offensive line in the back. He's playing the C. He's going to near foot shuffle sprint. He's going to have his inside foot, outside foot back. Inside foot up, outside foot back is the edge of the defense. The free safety is going to play stack force. And the will linebacker is playing the C gap, bend back. Okay? The jack backer and the weak side safety are the D gap and the quarterback player. So really, he's the C gap. Apologies. And he's the bend back. C gap, bend back. The jack backer has to be able to take the new number 2 out. Because he has the 2 on the out. Okay? So when he takes 2 to the flat and the quarterback pulls it, the weak side safety is now the edge of the defense. With the vice of the ball being between the will linebacker and the weak side safety. Everybody on the same page? Cool. Anybody have any questions about odd front 9-man space yet?
Coach, how does the jack know that that the Y coming across is going in the flat and not kicking out?
He has the first thing out, right? That's what I'm saying. That's the quandary.
Yep.
That's what we're going to talk about a little bit when we talk about 8-man and 7-man spacing. You think when you play like post safety defense and you play 8-man spacing, right? Whether you're playing post safety or split safety, doesn't matter, and you're slinging the fits, you think you have enough guys in the run fit, but you don't, right? Because you're not gapped out in the run game. So you have to buy back players in the run game by falling people back with the indicator. We're going to talk about that next. This is really easy in comparison because we're playing true one gap space. It's solo spacing.
Right.
So the jack knows I got the guy to the flat, easy. The weak side safety knows I'm fitting off of who? Who's my coverage? It was the Y. Mm-hmm. I'm playing robber on the Y, what we call poach.
Mm-hmm.
So what about if they ran? What about if they ran full zone speed option? Because now you're falling back away from the speed option. You got no pitch defender.
So you do. That's the deal, right? It's because it's based on what? It's based on not just the zone flow, but the quarterback running back relationship.
So the zone flow is to the back. So you're blocking outside zone and running speed option.
I understand. I got you. So when we get outside zone, we don't play it like inside zone. We say enter and skate or press and cap.
Sure.
Right? And so what happens is we say press and cap. Let's just talk outside zone and then you'll understand how speed option works, right? Because it's the same thing in 8-man spacing, it's just different people. So I get outside zone lead, right? He leads up. If I get outside zone, the play side backer, okay, in the run game knows he's going to press the line of scrimmage. Okay? So he's going to press, and he's going to end up being the C-gap player in the run game. The star is going to end up being what? The star is going to end up being the outside fitter with the free safety playing stack force. The weak side safety is playing the front side half of the block because that's his coverage. That's the why.
So is the will reading? So the Will's reading Y or the guard? Because you said he was reading
No,
the
that's
offensive.
what I'm saying. He's
He's
reading
not
the
falling back
offensive
on that.
lineman.
So he's not falling back on that one.
No, because he's reading outside zone flow. When we get to indicator fits and 8-man spacing, it's not the same.
So we got to teach them the difference between outside zone and inside zone, whether we fall back or not.
Correct. We always do. Outside zone's always enter and escape in solo space.
But it looks the same as inside zone.
Outside zone for us means the backs pads are getting a horizontal and the offensive line is ripping and running.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the linebackers read.
The linebackers read, that's what we tell them. That's the task. That is what we say. So let me do this.
I get it. I'm saying that you know, you got to differentiate between when he's going to fall back or not.
We do. That is what we do.
It's hard to see if he's falling back against outside zone and inside zone because they look real similar.
So for us, that's why we don't just focus on the offensive line, and that is also why we play loose up front. Because if I play loose, outside zone and inside zone don't look the same. This is how it all fits
I thought they
together.
were attack read.
And we're playing loose. So let's talk about how that works. It's a good conversation to have. It's exactly what we wanted. Here we go. I'm playing attack react up front. I'm not playing gap charge. I'm playing attack react.
Right.
I'm coming my hips and my hands and feet. My feet will fall, and I'm playing this loose.
Sure.
So if an offensive line runs outside zone, he's never going to get his hands on the slip block as he slips me of the offensive lineman. He's not going to get hands on it, right? Because he's playing this loose. Okay?
Yeah, I'm with you.
So when he goes to in flight, he's going to replace, because when you can't protect, replace.
I get that part. Now, differentiate the read between the linebacker, how he knows it's inside zone and outside zone.
I'm going to. This is how it's going to work. If we don't understand how this relationship happens, we don't understand how they look different to the linebackers because we don't understand how they handle the combinations. So that's what we're going to talk about. Make sense?
Yep.
So that happens. This offensive line is trying to reach this player, right? He is working away from the player, playing loose. He is cutting the play off. He has to work either flat, which is going to be fan, which is not going to be outside zone because the ball is going to get cut off, or he has to bucket step to reach the guy. This guy's almost an entire gap over, right? But he's playing loose, so he's not playing thick on the tackle, okay? Because we play it that way, it's really easy for these guys to differentiate a reach block like that, okay? Or like that. And what inside zone scoop or base bump, which is what you tend to get as a 4-eye combination block, looks like. When you get, if you are loose as a 4-eye, I'm right here. If you're an offensive lineman trying to work a combination, you're going to do it one of two ways. You're going to scoop it, which is going to look like slip. And so he's going to replace it and the ball's going to get cut off because we're playing this loose. Okay? Which is not what we're going to do in 8-man space. It's not what we're going to do. Okay? So you're either going to run scoop, which means the tip of the pad works away from me, but it's working vertically away from me. So it's the difference between, I'll show you. It's the difference between that and that. Or you're going to get base bump, which is going to look like this. That's base. Those combinations look nothing like outside zone. Now, where it can get tricky is when offensive linemen understand that you were playing loose. So what do they start to do?
Gallop technique you.
Well, if they gallop you, it's going to play out like inside zone.
That's what I'm
That's what I'm
saying.
saying, right?
Technique you, and then run the tackle off to the backer and cut the backer off.
That's fine.
Now
That's
they
what-
got numbers.
that's
Now
what
they
we're
got their
saying.
hat.
That's what we're saying, right? He's loose. Gallop back. We used to get that all the time at Cal.
Yep.
Literally all the time. All the time. Because we played it thick and we played a bunch of lag, which we'll talk about later. We are going to talk about it. Okay? And so the guard works up to the backer. That looks like base. This looks like slip still. If you're this backer and you get that and you think it's inside zone, that's fine. Because if they do it that way on the combination, the vice of the ball is going to be between him and him, because that's going to happen. The ball's going to go here, and the vice is going to be here and here because we're maxed out. So one of the drawbacks of playing 9-man spacing with the weak safety over here is that he's trying to fit the CD depth space. Now we work really hard on playing the flow of the back to determine off of the offensive line and the flow of the back what we're going to do. If the back's pads turn, we'll treat it like outside zone. If the back's pads don't, we'll treat it like inside zone.
It's better to relate to a face mask than pads, because sometimes the little backs are in there, you can't see their pads.
Certainly. All right. So here we go. Let's jump forward here a little bit. Okay. Let's jump forward here just a little bit. And let's talk about 9-man spacing, even fronts. Right? We're playing even front defense. We're still playing gapped out. Right? So now we're going to talk about playing, okay, a cloud concept here into the boundary. Okay? And we're going to talk about playing a bracket concept here to the field. And we're saying we're in gapped out run fit space. Okay? But we have to find a way to give the perimeter gap of some kind to an edge defender in the defense. We got to figure out who the overhangs are. So let's say we set the front to the back. So we give the bubble to the overhang. Because he is the non-vertical priest in our bracket concept, is the overhang in the defense. Okay? The Will and the Mike are going to line off their coverage. The Will's going to line here in a 41. The Mike's going to line here in a 10. Okay? Weak side safety's playing a half over 1. We have to give a perimeter fit to an outside player because I'm playing a corner technique to play cloud support. We're gapped out in the run game. It's max fits. So we have to find a way to get the ball there. So we get inside zone. We're going to either play heavy and play the B gap, play heavy and play the A gap. Okay? And give the C gap, the C gap to the Will, the free side, free safety, I should say, and the corner of the D gap, right? And the plus player in the run fit is my Mike backer. The Mike backer is still reading the flow of the back because no matter what he does, he's always inside out to the ball. Same page. Okay? If we got 3x1 and we got some form of bracket concept, we have to give the C gap to the edge player, the overhang of the defense. So we're going to run a stunt, okay? A lot of times we'll run what we call a pirate stunt. to cancel the A and B gaps and give the corner the edge of the defense. We'll run something to give him the interior gap. Will can play the C gap, solo space, the Mike is gapped out. So the Mike's the overlapper in the defense. Okay? What is this good for? This is good for QB run game and traditional zone bubble RPO. This is good for quarterback power, okay, and quarterback speed option, lead option, et cetera, et cetera. You're always going to have enough in the run game. This is not good for any form of vertical RPO because you are playing cover zero of some form in the passing game, right? Case in point, three by one. If I play this as 9-man spacing and I max fit it, right? The corner's in the fit, the safety has to play half over one. He has to key number 5 here, okay? The free safety's in the run fit, the star is playing by himself on number 2. The will linebacker has to play by himself on the Y. So when they run a zone run scheme, and they run number 2 on the peak route, he's coming out of the roof. When they run a zone RPO and they throw the ball to number 5, we're one-on-one in the passing game here. That's the drawback of playing it as max fit. Right? Does anybody have any other questions? Cool. Let's get to the fun stuff. Talk 8-man spacing run fits. Eight-man spacing.
Hey, Dante,
Yep.
I'm sorry. If we're going to run a 4 down front with 9-man spacing, we're going to always have to try to identify who our overhang is, usually to the weak side, right? I mean, that's where it's going to be the difference, biggest difference.
Every single, so let me back up because obviously I didn't, this is important. In every single split field concept, you always have 2 overhangs in the defense. In 9-man spacing, they are both in the fit. That's why we call it max fits. Both overhangs are reading run pass and triggering on run. So whether we're playing the odd space and it's the jack or the weak side safety and the star, or we're playing the even space I talked about and it's the corner and cloud support, or it's the weak side safety, right? I could put the star inside and the free safety outside and do the exact same thing. We're always telling the overhangs, you are keying the Y or the ML line of scrimmage and then air back. And if I get run low hat, I'm the edge of the defense. I'm either the quarterback player, edge of the defense, or I'm the force defender. Okay? 8-man spacing, so we're talking now, is sling fits. So now what's going to happen is the overhang, based on the rotation of the defense, an overhang is going to be out of the run fit, and another overhang is going to be in the run fit. Okay, and we're going to teach like they're on a sling. Our fits are going to be off of the Y off, which is what we're going to talk about next, off of the indicator, because we're not gapped out in the run game. So that's what we're going to talk about. So now we're in 8-man spacing. We're going to still talk about playing mid 4. So the coverage components don't change with what I'm talking about right now. They can change, but they're not going to, okay? They can certainly change. And I'm going to talk about a 4 open because it's easy to talk about first. So now we talk about the overhangs in the defense again. It's still the jack in this situation because of the call. It's still the star. Now we're going to play rotational run fits based on the call, okay? There are defensive systems where the entire system is based on the call determining what the rotation of the defense is. So I can say that we are in strong rotation run fits, and the star is always in the fit. The jack is out of the fit, and I'm 3/2, and I'm 2/2. I can say I'm playing weak rotation run fits, which we'll talk about when we play cloud. And now the jack's in the run fit, the star's out. And then I can play what some people call fall fits, hands fits, sling fits, which is based off of the back. So if I am away from the running back as an overhang in the defense, I am fast in the run fit. I'm doing the exact same thing I did in 9-man spacing in the run game. Okay? If I'm to the side of the back, my eyes don't go to the end of my scrimmage. They go to the near back, to my coverage. The near back tells me, am I playing some form of fast 3 by the back in the passing game? Because I have to leverage 3 out. I have to leverage 2 out, right? Leverage my coverage. And then my eyes go to my coverage. Okay? I have to sling the fits based on the rotation of that defense. So in this scenario, we play this as sling fits. The jack is out of the run fit. The star is in the fit. We have to do double duty now in the run game. We get inside zone. What do? Now, okay, we're gonna, excuse me. Now, when we get to the Y off, we're gonna play indicator fits off of the Y. In true one back ball, it's gonna look exactly the same as when we play 9-man spacing. Exactly the same, okay? He's gonna be the C gap to the side of the running back. He has to play the C gap or the bend back to the quarterback, okay? He's a surf player, and the Mike's gonna play a nest technique off the intentions of the nose, okay? So how do we do this becomes the question. The teaching is not the same because of how we play the guys up front. When we play, okay, we're gonna start going back because it's easier to teach. When we play 8-man run fits, sorry, don't want to do it that way. We're going to quote unquote squeeze blocks. We're going to play thick on the offensive lineman. We're still going to line 30-30 and 2x2. Some guys will go 41 and 10 based on back location. The star is in the run fit. So I need to buy a player to play the bend back to the quarterback because the jack is out. He's gone, right? It's like he doesn't exist anymore. So what do? We use what we call rope-a-dope, fall, or nest. Some people call it nest fits. It's all the same terms, okay? It's all the same terms. So what am I gonna do? I'm reading, because it's one back space, the guard to the near back here, which is gonna change when we get the Y off. And now I'm putting my feet in my gap, right? Which he's the C gap player. He's gonna put his feet here, nesting off of the 4-eye. He's gonna put his feet in the A gap. He's gonna get in what we call a post-snap or pre-snap and post-snap alignment. So now what he's gonna do is he's gonna be in a post-snap alignment off of the guard. That's gonna create horizontal stretch on the offensive lineman. when the offensive lineman comes off, because we are squeezing the center and we are squeezing off the 4-eye, and we're playing cutoff down the line of scrimmage, this backer can fall back. The Mike backer has to play the C gap to the quarterback. He's the squeeze and pop surf defender. The will backer is gonna, when the offensive lineman comes off or the ball falls back, fall back, and he's gonna end up overtaking the Mike backer in the C gap as the bend back. Okay? So here we go. Let's make it even smaller by making it bigger. Let's talk about the relationship of the offensive lineman when we squeeze blocks and the backer. If I'm going to squeeze blocks, whether I'm head up or we're playing a 4-eye, we're going to play this thick, and we're going to look to reach and gather at a 45-degree angle to hang that block. We're going to hang on to them. We're not going to replace the block as long as possible. We're going to protect it. That means scoop is going to look like scoop. Slip might look like scoop, depending on how thick you play it, which becomes really apparent in even front defense. Okay? So I, as the backer, as I in flight, strike, okay, putting my feet in my post-snap alignment, which was what? It was a 30. Okay? A post-snap alignment causes horizontal stretch by the offensive lineman. The combinations have to work horizontally because otherwise you never block him. The ball runs like this and he tackles it. It never gets back here. Okay? So when the offensive lineman comes off, the nose cuts the play off. He takes away both gaps. Okay? He can now fall back and play the first open space. So where's the next open space? The C gap. Everybody on the same page? Okay. So now, let's put it together. We're playing those fits, and we get a Y-off formation. Put it as 2x2 first, and we'll talk 3x1. Now, what we're saying is based on the back location right now, the star is out of the run fit. He is playing the RPO game to the side of the back. Okay? Okay, some people go 30-30, some people go 20-20. So now you have to make a decision on who the overhang is away from the back because the Y's in the core. If you do it by who's inside of the number 2 based on his coverage, that would be the free safety in this diagram because the jack, when we play this robber principle, has to take the first thing to the flat. So when we get split zone, this guy becomes the edge of the defense. He takes 2 or 4. This becomes 4. And the free safety, Mike and Will, are playing lever, still, lever off of the Y, the second back in the backfield. We call that indicator fits. Okay? Indicator fits. So when the Y falls, I fall. The will linebacker is the outside piece. He also not only has to be the outside piece, but depending on what concept you're playing out here, he may have to take 3. He may not, right? But in this particular situation, he wouldn't because he has 3 to the flat, right? But he has to lever the Y off. he has to keep his outside arm free. Okay, the star is out. The mic's gonna fall, and he's gonna have to play the spill of the Y. So he's gonna spill the Y off. He's gonna spill the Y off. So the person who has to play the A gap off the nose in this diagram is the free safety. The free safety would fall, push and press, put his feet in the gap, and now he's doing the exact same thing we just talked about in the solo run fit spacing and the 8-man space when we squeeze blocks with the diagram we just talked about. So when the center comes off, I continue to fall. So I push laterally, press vertically. When the ball falls back or the offensive line inclines, I can fall. Okay? Because I'm tracking him and him. He's my primary key as the indicator fit. He's the secondary. And we always go through the offensive line. But he's the primary key. That's completely different than the diagram we showed earlier on 9-man spacing, where this player had to overlap in the defense in the run game. These guys were fitting in relationship to the offensive lineman in the flow of the back, not the Y off. Okay? This works because we squeeze the blocks. So now the second option in the type of thing that I just showed you is to make the jack the person who falls back. Because you're saying, coach, that I'm fitting off my coverage and I have number 2 to the flat, 2 or 4, right? Well, coach, when he falls, this becomes number 2 or 4. If we're squeezing the block of the offensive lineman, so we're getting hips, hands, feet follow, right? And we're playing it thick. This is not gonna look like straight fan. He's playing thick, so it's probably gonna look like that. So what happens is the jack plays with width outside of the Y, and when the Y falls, he falls. We call that a fit and fold technique. So now he's the lever in the defense. The mic's still the spill, and the will is the lever. Okay? So who's going to play off the intentions of the nose and the back now? Jack backer when the Y falls back. Okay? So we have to gap exchange in some way to gain a fitter in the run game because we don't have enough people. Let's talk now about even space as we do this. Coach, am I still good on time? Okay.
Yeah,
Let me
you
keep going until you tell me to stop.
No, yeah, keep going.
Okay. I think putting it all together is what a lot of guys miss in our profession here. So, all right. So now we're going to play again. We're going to play the same exact coverage. We're going to play a cloud concept over here, right? And we're going to play some form of bracket over here. Okay? We have to align now based on our coverage to lever, spill, lever our fits. So if this backer has to take the vertical of the Y, like if you were playing cut or some type of vertical of 2 concept, right? He needs to align, we align him personally in a 41 still. That's our preference because we want him to be inside trail man, which means I want to be trailing the guy down the field inside leverage 1 by 1 box with my eyes on the near hip. Okay? So I align him in a 41. Some guys align him in a 50, but we align him in a 41. That is personal preference. Okay? To his coverage, which is the Y. The Mike backer here's going to align to his coverage, which is the R. Okay? So now our eyes, in this case would be a 10. Okay? Our eyes are on who? The indicator. Our eyes are not on the back like it was before. It's not my offensive line to the back. It can't be, because it's the same back, right? And playing sling fits, we're going to do something in order to get support away from the running back. Well, I can't ask the corner to play an interior gap. So I'm going to cut the front away from the running back. There are multiple methods to do this, okay? One of the methods is to run what we call a spike or a jam, where we're going to lead step, crossover, cross the face of the tackle, and if we cross the space, get vertical in the B gap. So I get zone to me, bang, I get his face, I cross it. Now the fits are the C gap and the A gap. Off of who? The indicator. Okay? The overhangs in the defense are the corner and the free safety. So the free safety right now is out of the run fit. He's playing the coverage out. The corner's fast in the run fit. When the Y falls back, I fall back, because I'm fitting off of the indicator. So the Mike has to lever the Y. The Will, he's the push and press, and he's playing A gap off the intentions of the 3 technique. So he's going to push and press, put his feet in the A gap, and we're going to do the exact same thing we did in odd space with the weak side safety and what we did in odd space, 8-man spacing, and when we had one back. If the offensive line inclines, he's squeezing the block, he takes the A and B gap. Right? Whether they do that or they do that is irrelevant to me. So I can continue to fall back. If the Y were to come and block the Mike would be the lever between the will linebacker and the defensive end. Someone's going to be the bend back to the quarterback, and the other guy is going to try to replace his gap. So the zone happens, the offensive line comes off, the 3 technique takes both A gaps, and the will continues to fall. He is now the bend back player, the C gap bend back. He is now the quarterback player. Okay? Take another example. We're playing rotational defense, but we're not playing sling fits. We're going to play rotational defense, but we're not going to play sling fits. We're going to say it's always going to be weak side rotation no matter what, where the back is located. So the Y's here, the corner's always in the fit. The corner's in the fit. We're playing cloud support, the corner's in the fit. So we have to do what? We have to make it so the outside element can play the inside part of the gap, right? You can't play inside. I can't ask the corner to do that and play the B gap. So I'm going to cut the front to the what? To the rotation of the defense. So I'm going to run, in this situation, we're going to run a pirate stunt. So now we're canceling the A, we're canceling the B, okay? That means the Will's in the 41, the Mike's in the quote unquote 10 to the side of the back, but who's the lever and who's the spill player? The Will linebacker is now the spill here, no matter what. And the Mike is the lever here, right? Even though he's to the side of the back, we changed the rotation in the defense. If we play the fits off of the back, the corner would be the overhang out of the fit. We'd cut the front up the other direction, and he would be the lever, and he would be the spill, and him would be the lever. Okay? So what is this good for? Why do we like this? RPO to the back. Right? Because the person out of the fit is based on that guy. Okay? What do we not like this for? Quarterback run game. When they're running traditional zone read triple option, right? We'd rather be in 9-man spacing because we know we're going to max fit the run game. They don't have enough people to block us. Okay? If they block us correctly, they're going to be able to handle our 8-man run fit spacing. So the goal is, when we run 8-man run fit spacing and split safety defense, is to make them hand the ball off. Because if we try to squeeze and scrape, we're going to be out-gapped in the run game. Okay? Instead, we say, guys, we know the ball is going to get handed off, and it's going to go to the A or the C gaps, and we're going to tackle it. So we're going to squeeze the blocks and make it a 3-yard gain, a 4-yard gain. Right? That's a win for the defense when we play this type of run fit spacing. That is not a win for the defense when you play maxed out, when you play max run fits. You're looking for 0-yard gains, tackles for losses. Okay? Everybody on the same page? Cool. Let's talk here about gap scheme for a second. Right? And this is even more important in 8-man spacing than it is 9-man spacing, especially when you play even front defense. Right? So we're going to be even front defense still. We're going to run the power game, bang, bang, right? And we're going to put the back over here. All right? And they're going to run same side, counter, back to the side of the field. Okay? So what are we doing? Okay, we're going to line, we're going to put him here, and we're going to put this guy in this situation. Let's say we put him here, and we put him in a 20, or we put him in a 21, based on the back, it could be that bubble, right? Put him at 20, okay? And we're going to put this guy in a 41 in this particular diagram, okay? With the way we set the front, okay? The corner's in the fit because the back's away and we're playing sling fits. He's the run fit player. The safety knows his eyes are on the number 1 playing half over 1. The free safety knows the back's to me, I'm out of the fit. We're playing some type of bracket concept. They don't count. They don't matter right now, okay? So who's the lever spilling the lever? He's the lever, he's the spill, he's the lever, okay? So they run same side counter. And let's say we spill this guy. He levers him. Yeah, we'll do it that way. Doesn't matter. Okay. He knows he's going to spill. Right? We have a gap problem in the defense. We're asking an outside guy to fit a play side gap. That doesn't work. Okay? So we run in the pirate stunt here. We tell them, look, if you get blocked back, you're going to face an ass off the center. You're going to cross and be the overlap player in the run game. So we've substituted, okay, a defensive back or linebacker with a defensive lineman crossing the center line. Okay? This becomes really important in split field defense when you want to play outside in with your run support. You have to cross the center line when they want to run gap schemes to the side of the back, the RPO game. Okay? You have to. Questions about that? No? That becomes even more important when we say, okay, we're not playing sling fits now. So 3x1, let's say. We're playing rotational fits. Put it right here. We put him here, in here, in here, right? I'm putting him in heads right now. Put him in a 2, put him here, put him in a 2, put him here. Just keep it simple right now. We're playing rotational run fits right now, okay? What does that mean? That means we're gonna figure out who we want in the run fit, and they're always gonna be in the run fit. Which overhang is in the run fit. That's gonna determine how we line up, okay? In this particular diagram, we're gonna run our rotational fits to the back because we're gonna say the corner is always in the fit, okay? So the corner's in the run fit, we're cutting it up to the run support. What does that mean? That means we have to align so that the edge of the defense is away from the overhang. So if I'm the will linebacker, Mike backer, depending on who you choose, we put him in a pre-snap 41. We say he's the lever. We put this guy in a 10. He's the spill. And we're running a stunt to the rotation of the defense. Okay? If we were to get gap scheme, we have to cross the center line. We have to. We have a choice. Questions? No. Cool. Anybody have any questions about 8-man run fit spacing? How you do it, what it is, how it changes from playing 9-man solo space on all ends of the field, from back to front. It is not the same thing. I cannot ask my guys to play 9-man spacing in the back end, okay, and not in the front end, because then I'm just doing double work. I'm not going to ask my guys, and this is what happens most of the time, to say we're going to play 9-man run fit spacing, but we're going to play double cloud on both sides against RPO pass game. We can't do it. Okay? We can't play split field coverage that way. It is not as good against quarterback run game. It's not as good as against traditional triple option game. Cool. Last one. And then if you have any questions, please ask. We're talking about 7-man spacing, which is the hardest one. This is a 2-gap ball. We do not have enough people in the fit. Okay? We have to steal gaps in the run game by how we play our backers and how we play our defensive linemen to cancel gaps. Okay? We have to. We don't have a choice. We also are saying that you're not going to throw the ball against us, and you can't run with the quarterback. So we're going to make you hand it off in the RPO run game, or we know we can game the front so that we have enough players based on the leverages of the run fits, based on how we teach it. Okay? People call this ball or stack track. Fallback. Fits. Okay? So let's talk the back end first. We're going to talk odd space. We're going to start with the 2x2 because it's the easiest diagram. Cool. We're going to play the same mid-4. The same coverage. 7-man spacing. Okay, so we're gonna play the same coverage. Now we don't have to, right? We could play palms on both sides. We could play double cloud on both sides. We could play double brackets on both sides, right? But for the sake and purpose, we're gonna talk about playing the same exact coverage. We are saying both overhangs in the defense are out of the run fit. They are not counted. They are plus, okay? They're bonus. And so they're gonna play off of the number 2 and the number 4, right? That's why we go 4, because he goes away from the passing strength. These guys are not in the fit because they're not the overhangs in the defense. The corners on our diagram, we're playing man-to-man, okay? We're playing 20-20 with our inside backers, okay? Some guys go 30-30. The reason I prefer 20-20 is I want to create more horizontal stretch with the offensive lineman. It is imperative that we create horizontal stretch with the offensive line so we don't get the ball cut off. The whole goal is for us to start in front of the ball, knowing an offensive lineman is going to climb and us to fall back. It's the only way this works. Okay? So now, okay, I'm still reading the guards or the triangle to the back. But I'm not falling back like we did in solo space 9-man run fits. I have to play in front of the ball. So when I get flow in the zone run game, okay, I'm going to near foot shuffle and stack the next defensive lineman working horizontally, right? Stack as I track the ball. When an offensive lineman climbs up, and we're going to talk about how that works in a second, or the ball falls, I fall. So we are bypassing gaps because we're fitting off of the football, not off of our gap space. That is not the same method that we used in 9-man spacing. It's not the same method we use in 8-man spacing. It is the same call. Okay? It's used for different reasons. So now I stack, track, fall back, stack, track, fall back, and I track the ball as it falls back. I track the ball as it falls back. So my eye's gonna go from the near back to the mesh. Because if the quarterback pulls the football, I have to fall. Same page, everyone. Cool. So let's make this bigger. Let's talk about how we play this front. And all credit goes to my buddy Adam Gaylor, who's on this because he's the one who taught it to me, and it's freaking awesome, and I love him for it. Go Adam Gaylor. Cool. He's a baller. Don't let him tell you otherwise. So, make this a little bit smaller. You want to make it big or make it small, make it big. You want to make it big, make it small. So now we're playing off the back and the offensive line. We're going to play head up to heavy shades. Like most of the time you play head up when you play this technique. We're going to play read attack up front, what we call RA. And we're going to do what's called a push technique or mirror step footwork. Okay. So we're going to key the man we're lined on, or I'm sorry, we're going to key the next man over for the fours. Okay. We're going to key the next man over for the fours. We're going to back ourselves up off the ball, and we're going to be in a frog-like stance. So our hand is not going to be, we're not going to be 60-40 weight on our hand, right? We're not working to get hips and hands, feet follow. It's going to look like this. If I'm the defensive lineman and I see this guy, this 4-eye right here, and I see the guard work away, I'm going to lead step, trail step, and get vertical with my hands. So lead step, trail step, strike the tackle. Okay? If the guard were to work towards me, so now let's say I'm this 4-eye, okay? It's the same thing. So if I'm that 4-eye, the guard works towards me, I'm keying the guard, lead step, trail step, strike. My pressure keys the tackle, my visual keys the guard. Okay? What that does is that pushes us, the same with the center, in front of the combination blocks, right? We're playing the combinations completely differently every single time. So we line up 20, 20, 30, 30, it's up to you. We get zone flow, we shuffle stack off the nose, off the forward. My eyes are from the double team to the back, okay? The combination happens, I key the tip of the pad of the guard works towards me, I lead step, trail step, strike the tackle. What are we gonna get? A base block by the tackle on the combination. If I'm the center, the center tells me where I'm going. He works that direction, right? And some people key the screws of the helmet, some people key the V of the neck, and some people key feet, right? They all have different methodologies. I personally key the screws of the helmet because I like to see what I hit, right? Some guys key feet because the idea is I can see the footwork better than I can see the movement of the screws of the helmet. Some guys do it that way, right? So now I lead step, trail step, strike. I'm in front of this block. I'm in front of that block. The guard climbs. The nose cuts the A and B gaps off. There's no A and B gap anymore. Okay? The ball gets cut off. So when the ball falls or the offensive lineman climbs, because we're stack, track, fall back, we fall back. This 4-eye is doing the same thing off of this guard. So the guard works away, lead step, trail step, strike. I'm playing down the line of scrimmage as the 4-eye. I'm taking the A and the B gap. It's gone. So we can fall and fall as long as we track the near hip of the ball carrier. Okay? Does anybody have questions about that? No. Okay. So, talk about it in the big picture. All right, let's talk about gap scheme for a second and how we handle gap. When we have to play gap, we have to have overlappers in the run game when we play this way. Okay? We have to have overlappers in the run game. Similar like when we ran sling fits and the RPO run game, the gap scheme went where? The gap scheme went to the side of the back. But now we have to do it both directions. So how do we do it? Remember, we're playing read attack and we back these guys off the football and we play them really thick. They're keying the guards. When the guard pulls, I cross. So I get guard pull, I drop step, and I become a linebacker as I wipe down the line of scrimmage, keeping the ball in my near hip. Okay? The combination happens whether they go back, or they run the combo. Let's say in this scenario, they go back, so they go like that, right? I lead step, trail step, strike. So I'm going to do what? Cut the play off from traveling where the defensive line came from. If you were to try to play the nose in a lag technique or a one gap attack react gap charge technique and play these 4 eyes and read attack, it doesn't work. because this nose would play back into the guard, which would do what? Create a seam over here in the B gap. But because he's playing off of the center, when the center goes like this, he's stepping laterally, then vertically, he cuts the play off with his width. He's gonna get washed. You're gonna get washed when you play it this way. But we're gonna have overlappers in the defense. When we play 7-man spacing, we are always spilling overlap. So when a polar happens, I spill it and I overlap. Because the backside lever player is always going to be the defensive lineman where the pole came from. He's creating the 8th man in the run fit crossing the center line because we're cutting the ball off with how we play up front. So let's put it all together to save more at the room store. All right, we're going to talk about our read technique here. We're going to talk about, I'm sorry, not our read technique. We're going to talk about playing this with Y off. Same deal, same deal. All right, so we've said this is what type of spacing, 7-man spacing. So this star is not the run fit. Okay, he's gone, right? This weak side safety is no longer in the run fit either. What do we do when we get some form of gap scheme, let's say, or we get the Y pulling back across? Doesn't matter what it is, split zone gap, it doesn't matter. We're going to check to rob the X. Why do we do that? Because unlike 9-man spacing, we don't want to undress the X for the RPO game. But at the same time, they're a team, i.e. North Carolina's a team like this, where if you play sling fit rotational defense, they're going to throw the RPO games over here, away from the running back. Right? So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if you sling the fits, these guys are going to throw it away from the running back. And if you don't sling the fits and max out, they're going to throw it wherever they want it. So now we say when the Y falls back, which is my coverage, I check the X. He overlaps in the defense, right? Because he's keying the guard. He leads that trail step strike, cuts the play off. The ball is squeezed between him, the jack, and him, the nose. And the overlappers happen between here, here, and there. He spills the first puller. He overlaps, and he's the cutback player. All right, let's do another example. The zone example, put it all together. And we'll go to even front defense, and then if you guys have any questions, please let me know. If you want me to go over anything, let me know. I'm here all night. All right. So let's say we're gonna have Y off again, and we're gonna play it like split zone, right? And we're gonna talk about split zone in 2x2, and then we'll go to 3x1. And here's the star, and bang, bang, right? Bill, Mike, Jack, corner, big safety. Cool. We got split zone in the run game, right? We get split zone run game. The Y falls back across. Okay? The Y falls back across. Well, what do? We, as backers, are not fitting off of the Y. So we're stack track fall back off the fall back. We stack the 4I. We stack the shade. He cuts it, we fall. He cuts it, we continue to fall. He cuts the play off, right? We fall. He plays like they're playing the front side half. We fall. Who has to be the fit and full guy on the edge if we're going to push this nose to a 5 technique or this end to a 5 technique? The jack. So now the jack fits and folds off of the Y. That allows the weak side safety to cone double number 5 and the star to play his coverage. Okay? So do you notice that we had a different person cross the center line in relation to the run fit scheme? I can't teach these guys to treat it differently because I have to have them key the lineman to the flow of the back. And really it's in reverse. It's the flow of the back to the offensive line. Whereas in solo space, it was the offensive line to the flow of the back. Everybody on the same page? Okay. So what tends to end up happening is I get flow, I stack, track, fall back. If he works, if he's working this direction, is this guy gets rolled as a 5 technique when the Y falls and he falls back. And a lot of times this jack will overlap this backer. It's gonna happen a lot. That's okay, like you're cool. This guy is stack, track, fall back, and he ends up getting captured usually, right? He gets captured by that guy or that guy. You're hoping it's that guy or that guy in the run game. He's the edge of the defense. He captures you. He overlaps it. That's usually what happens. So let me draw that again. Right, somebody else is falling back. We have to cross the center line, but we can't cross the center line with the same person, right? Because we're not keying off of the tackle, we're keying off of the guard, right? So what happens, he climbs, right? He climbs and this tackle bases him and rolls him into the C gap. This center ends up stretch basing him, rolling into the AB gap. He cuts the AB gap off. He cuts the C gap off. The Y falls, I fall. The person who gets collected by the guard is the Mike backer because he's going to stack, track, fall back off of the 4I. So he goes to fall. He's going to get caught right there. If they ran inside zone load and they went like this, the will would be here. I can't ask the will to spill the polar but not spill the Y, but not spill the Y. I can't ask him to do that because why? I'm not keying the Y, right? It's not 8-man spacing indicator fits. So the overlap player in the run game becomes the jack, right? The overlap player in the run game becomes the jack, okay? That is why it's so important when you stack, track, fall back that you work laterally and not into the line of scrimmage. When I'm playing 8-man run fit spacing, I can push and press and put my feet in my gap, right? I'm not running through, but I can push and press, put the feet in the gap. I cannot move vertically. I have to move horizontally. That is why we say shuffle, stack, track, fall back in 7-man spacing. I'm trying to 2-gap with the backers and the defensive lineman. Okay. Now, let's talk about even. I'll answer any questions. So now we're playing push front, and we tend to do it out of 2s and 4s. Okay. Now the people who are keying the uncovered lineman is the 2s are keying off of the center. The 2s are keying off of the center. So the Mike backer has to line off his coverage. We're going to say it's 1 back right now. We're not going to worry about the rest of the defense, okay? I tell him, look, we're splitting the 2 gaps, 2 potential gaps. When the center works to me, I lead step, trail step, strike off the guard. Lead step, trail step, strike off the guard. So the center works away. I take away both A gaps. The center works to me, I lead step, trail step, strike. That becomes base. I'm the B gap player. If I'm the Mike, I'm shuffle, stack, fall back. So the center works this direction, the back works that way. I got to stay in front of the ball, in front of the football, which is not the same as when we played what? When we played solo run fits. So now, when the center climbs, I play the back half of the center and I fall back, or the ball falls back. Most of the time, what do people do in 5-man blocks is they lock the box. So I've just two gap the backer and the defensive lineman. It's a gap exchange. Okay. So let's now get to our 7-man spacing. We're going to get to Y off. Okay. Line up in a 41, line up in a 10. I like to split the guys. Usually what happens when I'm playing this 2-back ball and the back is, and the back is offset with the second back in the backfield is we'll line in a 0-0. Because we got 2 gap backs, or 2 gap the gaps. Weak side safety corner out of the fit. He's gone. He's gone, he's gone, he's gone, he's gone. Don't care, right? He has to fit off of who? His coverage. He has to fit off of his coverage. So if the Y does anything, it becomes 1-back ball. So we run zone cut. It works the same way as the zone lock concept. The defensive end has to squeeze, and usually what he'll do is he'll bend and chase to take the dive. He has to be the dive player in the run game. He has to take away the B gap. The will backer fits his coverage, so if the Y were to block down, he'd play outside of him. If the Y were to run a vertical route, well, he's the vertical 2-wall carry, right? Cut player, he's going to carry it. It's 1-back ball again. It's the same thing. Doesn't change. I have to put my feet in the gap, back falls back, right? Or the offensive lineman climbs, I'll fall back. Now I have to play the gap exchange off of the defensive tackle, or the defensive end, I'm sorry. Questions about that? The last thing we'll do is we'll cut the front up. Favorite way to cut the front up when we want to play out gap, run a read Tom game. Some people call it a torch game. How do you run this game? We're going to key the center, but the reactions are going to be completely different for these defensive linemen. Okay? If the center works to me, I'm going to lead step, strike the center, butt, and cross him. Right? So I'm going to butt him and wipe it when the center works to me. Okay? If the center works away from me, I'm going to lead step, trail step. I'm going to bend and chase to cut the play off. I'm going to look to run through the hip of the center. 2 methods of doing it. The first one is to tell them lead step, crossover, run, and cut the play off getting vertical, like you would on a slant, a movement. The second way is to say we're going to pick the hip of the center. So now you are going to work flatter. You're going to lead step, the center works away. I'm going to work to pick the hip of the center. When I pick his hip, he butts, crosses. He plays the BC gap space. So the gap exchange is now happening between the defensive lineman, not the backer and the defensive lineman. So we get zone lock. They run zone lock. we as the backer have to stay in front of the football, like we said before, because we need to get the combination to work horizontally to the two so that we can cut the play off by either picking the hip or running the heel line, getting vertical, and this defensive tackle can fall back to play the B-gap space. I end up playing the front side half of the running back because I got to stay in front of the football. Okay? If we were to do this versus gap, it would work like when we played odd space and we crossed the center line. Bartee in the center goes away, lead step. You can either pick it out of his hands or you can cantaloupe and get vertical, right? Center comes to me, lead step, butt, cross. Guard pull happens. Let's just say it's fold because it keeps it simple in the box right now, right? He's tracking the football. So the spill and overlap happens between the backer and the two technique. So you spill it, get deep and thick, because I can't ask him to lever at one time and spill it in another in 7-man spacing, right? That's antithetical. That doesn't make sense. I can't ask the kid to do that. It's against the task. And he's the overlap player. So I've just given you 4 different ways to handle that in out-gap space. Okay? Does anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns before I do a little synopsis to end our discussion or any discussion we want to have about spacings and about the comprehension of the learning strategies?
Hey, Dante, I got a question.
Yeah.
Since you were at the high school level, do you think it's feasible? Do you think it's possible? Do you think it's doable to teach all the
No.
things for all the different spacings that I mean, do we not
No.
need to pick a theme, and that's what we are, that's what we do, and then have a few things for prevent or end of the game or something? But I mean, you got to be your hat, what you are has got to be
100%.
one over the other, isn't it?
Yep. So that's what we're going to talk through right now. It's perfect.
Yeah.
When we talk about taking the methodology we just talked about in terms of the lead, like the communication and the thought process, and putting it into what we just talked in terms of the spacings, right? And so what smart coordinators do, smart coaches do, is they understand they can't do it all. So they make, most people make their run fit spacings one type of space, maybe 2. At the high school level, I would say do it one way. And then you marry your concepts accordingly. So for example, if my strategy is, I know that the type of defense I want to play is I'm going to play post safety defense as well as split field. I'm playing both. I like to, let's say, run simulateds and creepers, right? Which is zone versions of simulateds. They're the same thing, right? And I know that the type of defense I have quicker, able to move defensive linemen, right? I'm probably going to play, whether through slanting and stunting and squeezing blocks, all 8-man spacing. Everything is going to be 8-man spacing. So the strategy becomes, we're going to play 8-man run fit spacing. That is our philosophy. Everything is fit, lever, spill, lever. Everything is fit where we're squeezing blocks or we're cutting plays off because we're working horizontally. Okay? And so what you then have to do is you have to fit the pieces together properly. So even though you're playing split field defense, you can still play post safety defense, like post safety run fit spacing. You can play, like I showed you before, even and odd space in 8-man run fit spacing, right? I can bring pressures that are still 8-man run fit spacing. Example, I want to run a field side creeper, right? I'm going to bring the field side. A lot of you guys know it as Fouts. Some people know it as Favre. Some people know it as field strike. It's pretty irrelevant. All we know is we want to run our field side creeper. And we know we're an 8-man spacing run fit team. We're going to play single half space and run a field side creeper, right? So I'm going to bring this guy, okay? I'm going to bring him. I'm going to talk about the linebackers in a second, but I want to show you how this works together. I'm going to bring that guy. I'm going to stunt. I'm going to stunt. I'm going to stunt, right? I'm going to drop this player. Well, what front did we just get into? Our odd front defense, right? But we already know through talking about Big Four that we can play odd front defense in 8-man run fit spacing. They're not exclusive. So the tactic has to match the strategy. So what do? We know we're going to fit and fold off of the indicator with the jack backer every time, because that's going to be his coverage. We're playing cover 3. He has, whether you play Ripley's match and he's playing seam curl flat 2 up and out, whether he's playing a true flat player, right? He has to stay 2 to the flat. He knows 2 and 4 is coverage, right? So he has to stay outside of number 2, right? And we're playing lever, Mike backer. Let's say he lines in, or Mike or Will, doesn't matter. Let's say he lines in 20. Let's say he lines at 20. He's going to be the spill and he's going to be the lever, right? When we get split zone, we're going to fit and fold. He's going to be the lever, he's going to be the spill, and he's playing off the intentions of who? That guy. What is he exactly like? When we played odd defense, we got scoop, played it thick, and got hit and worked through to hang the scoop block. Right? He is still doing what when the center works away? Cutting the play off. So him and him are still going to get their eyes to the spot as they push and press, and it's going to be the exact same run fit mechanics. Right? So that is the task that you tell the kid. You say, guys, this is lever, spill, lever. What do we do in lever, spill, lever when the indicator falls back? Coach, I know on the levers, I got to stay outside the indicator. I know on the spill, I got to spill the indicator. My eyes go to the spot. The spot is right for this guy. The spot is right here. For this guy, the spot is right here. I push and press. If the offensive line climbs or the ball falls, I fall. That's what it is. It's the exact same thing. Right? That's your job. Right? That's good teaching. So when you put that together, you say, okay, I want to run a 5-man pressure with a linebacker plug. And the Y's off the ball. I want to make it 8-man spacing still, right? So I'm going to run what some people call rack tom. So I'm going to run a rack tom. Doesn't matter what it is. All we know, we're going to line our 2s because I like lining 2s. Doesn't matter how you line it up. We're going to line up in 2s. Okay. And we're going to line up, in this case, we're going to line up in 2020 because I want to. Normally what you do is you'd align the defensive lineman. So like, let's say I want to bring the pressure to the open side, put the 3 technique here, he'd align in the 10, he'd align in 41, right? When we play heads, when we play head up, which you like to do when you move, what you want to do is you want to line up in a 20 and you want to move to a post snap 41 and move to a post snap 10 with the flow of the back off the ball. That's really that's difficult to do, but that's what you aspire to do. And it 8-man spacing, rope-a-dope, all that stuff, playing 2s. is you say, guys, line up in 20-20 and we get inside zone. What do? I'm going to get to a post snap 41, post snap 10, right? That's what you aspire to do because you create what? Horizontal stretch. And then you run 7-man run fit spacing if you're into that. And you do what? You know you're going to do what? You're going to stack track fall back off of the ball, and the defensive linemen are going to stay where? In front of the ball. And then you run 9-man spacing, right? And you say, guys, we're gapped out. You're going to fill and fold the space. You're going to run through. And we're going to move the defensive lineman to play a 4-eye and a shade, right? Anyways, that is the type of thinking you have because you change the way the blocks happen so you can stop the run game, right? So let's get back to where we were. We're running our Tom game. I'm going to run to the side of the back if I want to. Okay. So like this particular pressure, you really like to put the 3 technique to the side of the back, or you like to play in 2s, because what are we trying to do? We're trying to cut the ball off, right? We're still trying to do the same mechanics, but we're doing it with different people, right? We're doing it via movement. We're not doing it by squeezing the box, but it becomes the same gap exchange. So how do we make that happen? Well, we run the pressure away from the back, okay? So here we go. We're gonna lead step crossover. You're gonna keep the tip of the pad of the tackle. There's a lot of different things you can say. You can say you're running a spike. You can say you're running a jam. You can say you're running a V step, right? You get his face, you cross it, you stay in that gap, right? The 2-eye and the 3 are gonna run the Tom game. So the 2-eye, there's 2 ways to do it. You can have him step to the guard laterally, because then we get the center to come to us, right? This is not a read Tom, so I don't have to read the center. I know I'm going to go. And the 3 technique lead step crossover. He cuts what? The playoff, right? He's running the Tom. He's running the rat. So when the center comes to me, you can either pick it out of his hands or you can cut it off, right? Bam. How do we put it together with the coverage so we're playing as 8-man space? Well, we know we're going to want to do what? We're going to want to run a lever spill style fit mechanic with our 2nd and 3rd levels. So we're going to play a bunch of funnels, right? So we're going to come down to the Y. This linebacker is the blitzer because he's away from the back, and that's how we set it. He's the C-gap blitzer. We know he's the lever, and he's the spill. Right? He's the lever and he's the spill. That means if you do it that way, he has to be a lever. Or the other method is to say, guys, he's a lever, right? And when the Y goes back, who's the spill player in the defense? Can you tell me? Anyone? No? It's that guy. Because what did we do before? Right? It's the same spaces, guys. Right? He is like the spill linebacker that was pushing and pressing off of that guy. Right? We're now running a game where he cuts it off and he's the spill player. He'll end up in the same space. And guess what? If the blocker goes down and you spill it, he's going to overlap him because his eyes go to the spot. Are we all on the same page? So I just took the strategy, right, which is we want to play 8-man spacing all the time. I took the tactics, and that's because we know that we want to keep it simple for our kids. We're going to play a bunch of post-safety defense that's always going to be 8-man spacing, right? And we're going to run a bunch of cover 3 creepers. And so we're going to play sling fits, 8-man rotational spacing. And I just put it into different tasks. So I can get the kids to do the same things over and over again in terms of teaching. I teach the D lineman how to play the same over and over and over again. I teach the safeties, the linebackers, how to play the run fits over and over and over again. They're always same as much as possible. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So like that is putting it together, right? You can't play all of them. You know, one of the best coaches in balls on here, Adam Geller, he plays a particular type of run fit spacing, and he plays it all the time, right? And so he finds ways to teach it that way. Matter of fact, he plays two because he's just a badass, right? But that's not something that happens a lot, right? There are some guys who say, yeah, I play solo fits. So what they'll do, another example, putting it together, your job, right, as a coach, instead of take the mid, for example, we talked about, right, where we knew we were going to be A to C, we knew we were back gapping, we knew we were doing what? We were gap charging, playing it loose, we knew what we had to do, right? Now, we're gonna play post safety defense with a lot off, but we're gonna play it, right? We're gonna play it as solo run fit space. So that is not to say that it's gapped out. That is not to say that we have enough people, right? That is to say that we're going to do what? Play loose, okay? Replace with the defensive lineman and fill the space. And the DBs are going to fit around the box. So the Y off does not affect the run fit space. It's one back ball. So now we're talking about playing single high defense. I'm going to set 3 techniques in the back here, right? Just for shits and giggles. And now we're going to play what some people call Fox, some people call one key. Right? And we do this because now I know I align a 41 and a 10. I align in my gaps, however you decide to do that. And I know that the free and weak safety are going to key the Y, just like the Will and the Mike do in man free. Right? So they're going to play the 2-on-1 on the Y. Fox, key, doesn't matter. These guys are playing 2-on-1 on the back. We're going to play really loose up front. So he's going to play tip of the pad, right? He's going to play tip of the pad. What does that mean? Well, tip of the pad means he's actually going to move inside because it's in relation to who? The guard, right? That becomes really important, right? He's going to move inside because we're playing one gap ball, bang, right? He loosens up. We get inside zone. The Y falls back. I don't care because the weak side safety, when the Y goes back, I have him man to man. He's my man. As the free safety, I become the post safety, right? So to the front, it means nothing that the Y went back across the field, right? It's solo space. Now we're going to do something called a fit and fold technique, where we're going to run through to cut the play off because we're going to widen this area of the field, which we weren't doing when we were squeezing the space. So this guy, tip of the pad goes away. You can do it 2 ways. You can either, 1, replace it, right? Which means you got to make it. You got to make it if you're going to replace it. That's the bottom line. You got to make the play, okay? Or you can do what some people call a pointer, some people call it padding back. So the tip of the pad works away, I step and I work back into who? The tackle. It's the opposite of what we did, right? When we played the 7-man run fit spacing. The opposite of what we did. Because what do we do in the 7-man spacing? The guard went away, we stepped down with the guard and struck our hands. Now we're saying play it loose, the guard goes away, we step, redirect, and work the opposite direction. I become a 4-eye. You can play the 2-eye the same way. A lot of people will play it out of a shade. They'll do it out of outside shade, but it works the same way, right? So if I played a pointer out of that, what would happen? The tip of the pad works away from me. I'm playing loose, right? And so what happens? I go step, redirect, strike the center. Well, who has leverage in the A and B gaps? That guy and that guy, right? Because these guys did what? They climbed. But the spaces got bigger, right? The leverage is changed in the run game because we're not squeezing the blockers. I'm not getting hands on, right? So I can't expect this guy to cut the play off, in my opinion, or more importantly, this guy to cut the play off if I don't fill the space. Because, make it bigger. That's all you care about, right? Let's talk particularly, see all that, yeah. Right? We're going to talk particularly just about this technique right here. I'm playing this loose. I'm playing the pad back right here, right? I key the tip of the pad, right? I'm credit card alignment, meaning I'm tight to the football, okay? I get scoop, it's going to play as slip. It's going to play as a single block. I'm going to pad back. I'm expected to play the B gap and this A gap. Does that make sense? I'm expected to be able to play that when I get the cutoff block by the tackle. But there's a ton of space here. Unlike when you squeezed the guard and put him in the gap and he climbed, right? So I need to fill that space. So what do? If we play the same technique we just talked about here, he's keying him, he goes away, I step, that helps, but there's still a ton of space. So guess what we do? We fill the space and cut the ball off. I just turn that into mid-front defense. And then what we do, mid-front, 9-man space defense, right? If he fills it, he'll fold over the top. So the vice to the ball will happen between the defensive end, who's the squeeze and pop. Because remember, it's post-safety defense. We don't really have enough people, right? But we're widening this space. So we're really squeezing the C gap. And he's going to help make the tackle. With the idea that the ball can't travel over there. Right? This is where I disagree with guys when they want to do this. They want to squeeze the guard, but they want to try to play a pointer with the 3 technique. That's like saying, I'm going to play him through the B gap, because what's the idea? He climbs, I fall. And I'm going to play him through the B gap, right? There's all of this space in here, right? All of this space. So what do we do to get the center to work to us is we run the pointer with the 2-eye, and we say, you cut the play off because the guard's going to climb. You cut the play off. And I can fall. And I just play the same type of run fit spacing. So now I play 9-man run fit spacing.
Do we lose him?
Oh, we might have. Oh, there he is.
Sorry about that.
No, you're back.
Yeah, it sounds like I lost. I guess this building is really old, so it's probably telling me to get out of here. Right? I play solo run fit spacing because I run through and I fill the space. So guess what? in those same pressures we just talked about, that same rack tom, the same, like, I'm going to play all key box because I never want to treat it like two back fits. I want to treat it as single gap space. You have the back no matter what. And the fill and fold mechanic is going to come from the defensive lineman, right? Because you're now going to play in front of the football because that's your man. Instead of playing two back fits where you're going to fall with the Y, right? I have to play my man to man. So that's the type of things you talk about doing. Right? And what do they do in the NFL? They two gap guys all the time. They play 21 personnel ball, play Tampa 2, and they two gap in space. They win. So, other questions, comments, concerns? Anything you want to talk about? No? That boring?
No, man, that was good. That's one of those ones I'm gonna have to go back and watch a couple times though to get all of that shit though.
Definitely not boring.
No. Yeah. Yeah, really good.
Cool.